How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the top 10 cheap and fast saloon cars that you can buy for under £10,000. By the way, check the new chair. Finally feel like a proper YouTuber because I've got a chair that I can actually do my work in some form of comfort, which is sick. I've ordered these cars from slowest to fast in terms of their 0 to 60 times, and then split up any tyres using their brake horsepower figures. As there's 10 cars rather than my normal 5, there's slightly less detail per car, but instead there's more breadth, some cheaper options, some more expensive options, some faster and some slower options, so something for everyone, hopefully. Some of the cars in this video I've spoken about before, so I'll put an asterisk next to their name and you can go into the description to see the actual videos where they've turned up in slightly more detail. Topic of the week this week: do you prefer 2 doors or 4 doors, so coupes or saloons? Let me know in the comments down below and we'll have a chat about it. Don't forget, these videos are from the UK market perspective, so prices in other countries may differ, and remember that maintenance, repairs, insurance, all that good stuff, super important whenever buying a second-hand car, but I'll mention those in this video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Without further ado, let's get into the video. First up, we have the Mazda6 MPS, and if you're in the market for a cheaper end of this video, stay tuned as you can pick up one of these for as little as £3,500, while more expensive examples with around 50,000 miles on the clock go for just £5,000. Definitely not a ton of money when you consider it hosts a 2.3 litre turbocharged inline-4 engine, putting out 256 brake horsepower to its all-wheel drive system, taking it from 0 to 60 in just 6.4 seconds. Now that's not horrendously fast, and it's 2 seconds slower than the fastest car on this list, but it's also half the price, so you're still laughing. It's known as the Mazda Speed 6 or the Mazda Speed Atenza in other markets, and comes with a sport trim or a more premium GT trim for those who prefer to waft. The all-wheel drive system is actually more similar to the Haldex in that it splits between being 100% front-wheel drive and 50-50 all-wheel drive depending on the driving situation, which people often have quite strong opinions about. On reliability, it's apparently not the best according to owners. The intercooler is placed in an awkward place where it collects heat, the rods aren't incredible, they have turbo-related failures, and a whole host of other issues mentioned. I would assume this is a key reason why all the other Mazda 6s won awards while the MPS didn't seem to, and why this car is as cheap as it is. So maybe laughing a little bit less now. All in all then, what could be a very cool car plagued by reliability. In 9th, we have the 3rd generation Lexus GS460, which is an absolute yacht of a car in terms of size, but still does 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds thanks to its 4.6 litre V8 engine, which puts 342 brake horsepower through its rear wheels. It replaced the outgoing GS430 and offered active suspension among other key modern amenities, which allowed the car to waft well while simultaneously performing when it needed to. However, it's not horrendously different to the GS450H in terms of performance, which is only 0.1 of a second slower to 60, but is much more fuel efficient given it's a hybrid V6, which will also likely keep ULEZ happy for years to come. These are super rare, and there are only 14 of them on the roads in the UK right now, so the fact that I spotted this one for sale with 53,000 miles on the clock is a one-off. If you wanted the aforementioned GS450H though, there are plenty of them, so you'll get a similar performance very easily. The main point to look for on reliability is the ABS pump, but in general these cars just seem to keep going and going. The LS460 shares the same engine, and many have gone well over 200 to 300,000 miles, which should put your mind at some ease. So maybe not as aesthetically exciting as some of the cars in this list, but do not count it out given its performance and reliability. Next up, we have probably my personal favourite car on this list, and I'll butcher a Japanese pronunciation as I say it to make a point: the Subaru Impreza WRX STI, specifically the Hawkeye with the 2.5 litre turbocharged flat 4, putting out 276 brake horsepower through all 4 wheels and managing 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. Now just keep that 276 brake horsepower figure in mind for a little bit later in this video. I always mention the rally pedigree with these cars. I grew up watching Colin McRae, Richard Burns and Petter Solberg thrashing these around rally stages, so I've always loved them and have to own one in the future. Hold up for 2 seconds. I just wanted to say thank you all very much for support on Instagram recently. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, go give me a follow because you see plenty more content every single day to get you through lockdown. And if you haven't subscribed, which like 80% of you haven't, hit the subscribe button. It's super easy, 2 videos a week, you'll be gassed, I'll be even more gassed. We're all winners. The Hawkeye is the final version of this generation of Impreza, and the front was actually meant to look like a jet intake and wings as a nod to the company's roots in manufacturing aircraft. Some people don't like it, I really quite like it, but each their own really. You'll pick up one of these for around the £8,000 mark for a high mileage example, but £10,000 will get you on with around 70,000 miles on the clock, so not bad mileage considering the performance. However, owners do note reliability is a bit all over the place with the 2.5 litre engine. Head gasket seems to be the main issue, but piston rings have also been documented as poor. Not to fear though, you can always get the cheaper Blob Eye with the 2-litre engine instead, which is probably my favourite looking of all the Imprezas, and they're much more reliable apparently. So despite my love for this car, do your research, find one in decent condition, and maybe consider going for the 2-litre engine instead. We have a fan favourite here at number 7, it's the E46 M3, which I appreciate I'm taking liberties here as it's a coupe rather than a 4-door saloon, but coupes are quoted as generally just being 2-door saloons, so I felt like it was worth a mention regardless. It hosts a 3.2-litre inline-6 S54 engine, putting out 338 brake horsepower and doing 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, so we're into some pretty rapid territory already and we're only at number 7. So the E36 M3 is now looking pretty insane. The E46 was heralded as a return to M3 form for BMW, and it came with either a manual or SMG2 auto box, and the latter was praised for its quick shifting on track, despite apparently not being particularly useful at low speeds or in traffic. For that reason, strangely, I'd probably consider going for a manual for day-to-day usability, but it's all a preference thing. If you wanted a convertible, then you're in luck because there are plenty of cheap ones, but for a coupe you're looking at around £8,000 bare minimum, and for £10,000 you're looking at one with around 90,000 miles on the clock. Reliability could bite your wallet pretty hard in one of these, particularly if one of the more common issues I could find rear their heads, like the crankshaft big end bearing failure, or if oil supply upgrades haven't been sorted out under warranty. Subframes are also known to crack, so get an expert to come and have a look before you buy would be my advice. All in all, a classic BMW whose prices continue to grow and grow. I would absolutely love to own one, but my heart lies with the E93 convertible M3 instead. Just missing out on the top 5, we have a Pininfarina designed, Ferrari engined car for under £10,000. It is the 5th generation Maserati Quattroporte with the 4.2-litre V8 engine, putting out 394 brake horsepower and taking it from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. This Ferrari engine I'm talking about is the F136, which has been used in numerous Maseratis and Ferraris with differing levels of power, including the Gran Turismo, F430, California, and even the 458. The car comes in numerous levels of trim, so you can get in all sorts of specs for under £10,000, which is a key bonus for those who are looking for something specific. It also continues the nameplate of a long line of Maserati Saloons, so you're in some historic company. You can pick one of these up for as little as £6,000, while £10,000 will get in with under 50,000 miles on the clock, which is actually the best on this list alongside the Mazda. The car isn't entirely reliable though, and the key issue with the car I could spot from owners is related to variators. However, the avoidance tactic that people seem to suggest is pretty simple. Let the car warm up in the mornings before driving, and don't shift gear too early when driving. I can't attest to that being true, but either way, the variators appear to be the most common issue. Who would have thought any car with an engine even slightly similar to that of a Ferrari would depreciate to these levels? Either way, a cool little option on this list. Let's get into the top 5. In 5th we have the Jaguar XFR, which hosts a massive 5-litre supercharged V8 putting out a ridiculous 502 brake horsepower, which takes it from 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds. It was built to rival the BMW M5 and Mercedes C63 AMG, hence it not only comes with a mad performance, but has some luxury and gimmicky features on the interior to set it apart, like the carbon fibre, wood or piano black trim, sports leather seats, and controllable interior lighting. Despite looking very classic, understated Jag, it was actually the fastest Jaguar saloon available when it was released, and has some insane speed even in the higher ranges, as it does 50 to 70 miles per hour in 1.9 seconds, about a second quicker than an RS6 of the same era. You can pick one of these utter beasts up for pretty much £10,000 at the absolute lowest, and prices continue to decrease year on year, so I expect even lower soon, but for that you're looking at around 80 to 90,000 miles on the clock. According to Jaguar specialists and owners, the AJ V8 engine is pretty bulletproof, but services are expected every 10 to 15,000 miles, and the E-diff is known for throwing codes. The transmission rarely gives problems, but does require an oil change every 60,000 miles. I really like the XFR, it has such a good mix of performance and luxury, and as shown, sounds pretty sick too. In 4th we have the stunning 1st generation Audi RS6, which I think looks even better with age, but that's just my opinion. It hosts a twin turbocharged 4.2-litre V8 putting out 443 brake horsepower, which takes from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds thanks to its Quattro drivetrain. It combines variable valve timing and turbocharging to get that level of performance, and has dynamic ride control which consistently adjusts each individual damper to ensure maximum comfort and handling. Ignoring all of its traits for a moment, this is the car that started the RS6 saga we've seen to today, so one of the most popular cars on the internet. For that you have to put some respect on its name. These are listed for as little as £7,000 for a high mileage example, but 10 grand will get you on with around 60,000 miles on the clock, which isn't too bad. In terms of reliability, forums are generally positive, noting mostly brake pads and tyres as wearing thin very quickly. Points to note are the dynamic ride control, a couple of timing belt issues, and a couple of leaks here and there, but owners generally just berate the running costs of this beast. All in all, a stunning car and a future classic in my my eyes. Just putting it out there though, I would definitely go for the Estate instead. On to the top 3 now, and in third we have the Mercedes E55 AMG, which hosts an International Performance Engine of the Year award-winning 5.4 litre supercharged V8, putting out 469 brake horsepower and managing 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, matching the RS6. I could also have put the C55 AMG and the S55 AMG on this list, but I didn't want to go Mercedes overload, so chose the one which I think has the coolest offering, and I'd say that because when the E55 AMG was released, it was the fastest saloon car available in the world. The RS6 I just mentioned might be able to keep up to 60 miles per hour, but it will take a whole second longer than the E55 to get to 100 miles per hour. The E55 was also the best-selling AMG until the C63 was released, which is pretty nuts. All these sales allowed for some good depreciation, and you can get one for as little as £8,000, but expect a car with still well over 100,000 miles for your £10,000, as they seem to have been generally well used. Reliability is often an issue with old high-performance Mercs, but this one seems pretty decent. Main issues owners mention include the Valeo gearbox radiator, SBC braking system, and airmatic suspension going wrong. However, owners who bought post-2005 models seem to have had little to no issues. Don't underestimate how expensive these Mercs can be to maintain though, as with many other cars on this list. Overall, a proper beast of a Merc with some serious figures and quite a nice shape to look at too, if you ask me. Just missing out on the top spot, we have a car with a massive cult following and with great reason. The BMW M5 E60 has an iconic 5 litre V10 engine which puts out 500 brake horsepower and takes it from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. Just listen to this. The M5 was the first production petrol V10 saloon car ever, and that engine was created as a result of BMW's involvement with Sauber F1 team. On top of this, if you bought the optional M drivers package which removed the electronic restrictor, the top speed goes up to 190 miles per hour, which is utter insanity for a 4-door saloon. £10,000 is around the minimum you'll pay for one of these, and I back their values to increase in the not too distant future when this car reaches the classic status it so deserves. Either way, you're currently looking at around 80 to 100,000 miles on the clock for that kind of money. Reliability is not something you want to be thinking about with a V10 engine, and the S85 block does have a few issues. Two of the key problems to note according to owners include the premature wearing of rod bearings and the Vanos system, which is BMW's answer to variable valve timing. If you read some owners' reviews of the car, often they'll tell you how in love with it they are, but how scared they are of something going wrong, which is never fun. All in all, probably an all-time great given its general love. If it doesn't count as a certified super saloon from the 2000s, then I really don't know what does. Taking a well-deserved top spot on this list is the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6 GSR, which hosts a 2 litre turbocharged inline-4 which takes from 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. Remember I told you to keep 276 brake horsepower in mind? Well, Mitsubishi's official figures state exactly that for this car as well. This comes from the long-standing gentleman's agreement by Japanese manufacturers that they would not make cars over 280 brake horsepower, so official figures for Lancers and Imprezas were often similar or the same, which obviously we're well past now. If the M5 has a cult following, then the Evo has pretty much become a form of religion to some people in the car world. Known for being tuned or rallied, the end of the Evo era was very sad to see and has kept prices generally quite high, so the cheapest I could find were around £9,000. Your 10 grand will get you one with anywhere between 80 to 100,000 miles on the clock either way. While the experts and owners that I could find note the car is very reliable, I would note there are hefty maintenance bills attached to it, with oil changes every 4,500 miles for example. This Evo had a focus on cooling and engine resilience with a larger intercooler, larger oil cooler, and new pistons to help relieve the strain on the engine, so you can understand why it's decent on this front. I love the Evo, and I grew up watching Tommy Mäkinen winning the World Rally Championship, so I've always wanted one, but for that reason I'd have to spend 35 grand and get a Tommy Mäkinen edition, which I very clearly don't have. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for making this far if you have. If you have, please leave a like below as it would really help the video out. Massive thank you to the patrons as always for their continued support. Don't forget the topic of the week, comment down below, 2 or 4 doors. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff, but thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.